In a recent interview, Ivan Demidov was asked some questions about his status for the KHL and what would happen if he was not good enough to make the team, and his responses to these questions left some Habs fans scratching their heads, but we gotta get into this whole situation there. Plus, Montreal has a new invite to their rookie camp coming up very soon, and we got some contrasting opinions about where Montreal is going to finish this season, with the sportsbook having us at 5th last again, but with some people being more optimistic, including an article about some of the top things that can turn the Habs into a playoff contender. All of that coming up on this episode of Habs Digest. Welcome, everyone, to the weekly Monday Habs Digest streams. We're going to take a look in the chat. We got some channel members here already. We got Frank Dig, new channel member. Thanks in advance, guys. You are the best. Thank you, Frank, for being here. We got Blanco. Ahoy, after a few weeks, I finally made it here. Welcome back, Blanco. It's always great to see you. And Frank Thibault. Hey, everyone. Hey, Frank. Welcome back. Also a new channel member. Thanks to the gifted subs. Jesse, we got some spicy stuff to get into today. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready, brother.
Let's do it. All right, so we're going to start with a fantastic article that is linked down below. And now that I'm thinking about it, actually, I'm going to go get the name of the person who wrote this article, because I want to give them the credit that they absolutely deserve. So bear with me just for a moment, everyone, as I go in there and I get the name here. And I'm just going to refresh the page because it's Caleb Desjardins. So we got Caleb Desjardins, who wrote this article, and I'm going to start off by just bringing it up. And he wrote about 3 factors for the Canadiens to make the playoffs. Link down below, as always, of course. And the first thing that I want to talk with you, Jesse, and with the audience about is a breakout season from Kirby Dach. Now, you know, this alone is not going to turn the Habs into a playoff contender, but this absolutely is a great first step. He's had a ton of injuries in his career so far. But how much of a difference do you think a Kirby Dach breakout season could truly make to Montreal taking that jump towards the playoffs? Because honestly, as we're going to look into it a bit, the Habs are kind of pegged as a bottom 5 team again, but I think a monster season from Kirby Dach, we're talking 65, 70 points, shoots them up at least 2, 3, maybe 4 places in the standings, especially considering how close Montreal could have been to maybe an 8th or 9th worst finish last year if he had been healthy.
Now we're talking, right? I think more of a bottom 10, that number 10 spot could be very much realistic. Like Kirby Dach could help us give a lift of 5 spots in the rankings, right? I think he can help so much because we're talking about your second line center here. Like, this is a huge part of your team. And Jeff Gordon, he was the first one to say when asked about Kirby Dach, like, this guy looked like our best player kind of coming into last season. It's absolutely true. Like, training camp, that first game of the season, he was looking so good, right? Because the effect that he has is not only like just taking off that pressure off Nick Suzuki of actually having, some offense coming from that second line, right? Getting those better matchups. But I would agree just that for the morale in the room, right? We know we'd come off so many injuries the year before, and then just to kind of start this year off, right, in that way, I think was tough for a team that lost a lot of 1-goal games, right? Yeah. We know that so much of the game is mental too. And when you have that full squad, you're kind of getting back, you want to be healthy, kind of want to take that next step, but you really need one of your young leaders on this team. Like, Kirby Dach is unreal. He is so good with the puck, and it's so unfortunate we haven't been able to see him enough yet with the Habs. But that's one of the things, like, going into this season that I'm looking forward to the most. Like, I'm really looking forward to seeing Slaf's development, but like, I gotta say, Dach is one of those other things, like, probably next on that list, right? Because we're coming to expect him to be a good player, but it's a little bit of surprise. Like, we don't know for sure because it's been a lot of time off, but because he was looking so good prior to that injury, I think he's going to have an awesome year and really going to help this team in a huge way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it feels like, he got injured so early last year. At points, I was like, oh yeah, Kirby Dach is on this team. And again, it's yet to be seen what he'll be able to do. But with the chemistry he's shown with a lot of the current Habs, a lot of the top guys on the team, it's going to be really cool to follow his progression. Now, the big question is who's he going to play with, because his best time as a Montreal Canadien was that time that he spent with Suzuki and Caufield, where that line was over a point per game for almost a month, I think, at one point when they were together. But that's not going to happen this year. I don't foresee that happening unless we see Slaf get to the point where he is absolutely driving his own line. maybe. But anyway, that's yet to be seen. But I think that's a very good point. I'm looking in the chat there. We got a lot of people chatting. I'm just going to bring this back up for a minute. We got Frank saying, I would like to thank the person who gifted me with a Habs Digest membership. I think that was Denis Ronger. I'm pretty sure it was, and he is in the chat here. So thank you, Denis. Again, so many people are thanking you in the comment section, in the live stream, for donating so many channel memberships. We really appreciate you so much. Blanco, I missed Kirby this season. I agree. Mark Oregon, new channel member. Hi, health and happiness and prosperity to all. Go Habs, go. Same to you, Mark. It's fantastic to share all the positive aspects of life and Montreal Canadiens here with you. Denis Roger is saying, hi, everybody. Wish the season could start tonight. I absolutely think so, too. And Mark giving a thanks to Denis as well. And Frank Daig saying, Dach and shape and having a good whole season would bring the other line members and raise their stats, too. That's the thing, Jesse. Before we get into the next one, like, how likely do you think it is? I mean, we already kind of saw it from Dach, but do you think he can get to the point where he can drive a line so much that he can elevate his line mates? Like, do you think there's a world where, like, you put maybe Newhook or maybe another wing, maybe a young guy like Owen or something with him, and like their games get elevated by him? Because I think we've seen those flashes so far, and I think that's a real potential future for him.
It's a good point, and it's also something needed, right? Because Joshua Watt needs to play with other good players. He's not the best skater in the world, so we can play with other players that got some wheels. It helps him a lot because he's so intelligent, right? That they really feed off each other so well. So honestly, I think that it's a really solid point. Like, I'm not worried about Dach not playing with Suzuki or Caufield. Like, that's how good I think he is. But we can't wait like too long before getting Wa onto that second line as well. I think with Newhook, like those three together, like Wa plays really good with other players, but he's gonna also Dach and Newhook are gonna really benefit from playing with Wa as well, right? Just the way that he plays the game. He's dangerous out on the ice, and we're going to see that a lot more. He's going to really help elevate their games, and I think that's going to be so important to really get some offense out of that second line.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy to see. I want to take a look again. There's a lot of people chatting here. I wanted to look at a comment here by Phoenix to the Fox saying, right, live stream Mondays becoming a weekly highlight. Thank you for doing this. Well, that is so awesome to hear that people are looking forward to this every week. I see so many familiar names. Image One Nation here made it. Denise saying more subscribers equals more interesting comments and opinions. And I agree. We see so many channel members coming in here because of their new channel membership. Of course, channel members and donations get priority comment response. But yeah, thank you all so much for being here. As we get 5 more gifted subs from Denis Ronger to start off the stream. We got Rafi, we got Keith Lawrence, we got C Dizzle, Tyler Liverpool, and Meh. All 5 of you who are subscribed to the channel already now have a channel membership, so you get priority access, priority replies, you get access to the channel member videos, and you also get access to these little emojis that I'm sending in the chat right now. Thank you again so much, Denis. It's absolutely unbelievable, the support that everyone has been showing. Mark is saying, I'd like to see the second line this season is Wadok Newhook. I agree. I think we're all very much in agreement there. Rafi with the let's go. Is that an Armenian flag? Are you Armenian? That would be pretty crazy if we got an Armenian. I mean, you know, I got people from all over the world coming in here, but that is pretty cool. Jesse, let's move on. We've been talking so much about Kirby Dach. We're already 10 minutes into this stream. That's the thing. We can.
Doctor.
Yeah, exactly. We have this ability to just talk about whatever the heck we want for as long as we want. The second thing, this one I think we can spend a little less time on because it's something we've spoken about at length on this channel. Talking about Kent Hughes getting another top 6 forward. Again, shout out to Caleb Deschardins, the author of this article, which is linked down below from Last Word on Sports. A healthy Dach adds another top 6 forward down the middle, but what about another one? The most recent was the news that Zegras almost became a member of the Habs via trade. Like, there's a lot of different things the Habs can do on this front, Jesse. We've heard the rumors about Natchez before. We now have that thing that they almost traded for Zegras, and now this Line thing that supposedly the Habs are not interested in him. That kind of top 6 forward that is available for trade, that kind of thing is dwindling now, with the Habs either not being interested or these players no longer being dangled or no longer even eligible for a trade in the Natchez case as he re-signed in Carolina. But I think that this, to me, out of all the things on this list, is the biggest, what if factor, because this, to me, immediately elevates Montreal to a borderline draft lottery team, because the one thing the Habs missed a lot was depth scoring. Scoring outside the first line was hard to come by. So if you get, Dach himself, even if he doesn't break out, we've seen how good he can be anyway, right? Like, if he just plays at the level he's been playing at, and you add another top 6 forward, I think that alone is enough to really bump Montreal at least 5-6 spots in the standings.
Yeah, absolutely, Josh. I will ask you right now, though, do you believe that the Habs will add another top 6 player by the beginning of next season?
No, I don't. I don't think they will, because I don't think a team with a top 6 forward is going to give... I don't think they're going to give him up for cheap enough for what Kent Hughes is going to want, because Kent's not about to make a bad trade. I think Kent's going to go down in a number of years as that guy who, when he makes a trade, you look back and say that was a swindle. So that's where I get hung up. I just think that the teams that have these players, those top 6 players, are incredibly valuable. And I just don't think Kent is going to overpay for a guy just to add a guy like this. That's kind of my thought.
It's a solid point, right? And I think this discussion leads really well to where we're kind of going as well pretty soon, right? It's like, it's kind of this spot right now with the Habs, right? Where it's like, you kind of need to start getting better. Like, there's a solid argument that the Habs could wait another year. We're noticing, okay, wait till the Tampas, the Penguins, the Capitals, kind of go down. We know, let the Sabres kind of stagnate the Sens, right? Like, kind of bide your time, and maybe wait for them to come down. And then next year, kind of taking that swing. I'm starting to become of the mind, though, Josh, that's like, Habs fans, we're patient right now. But are we going to be as patient, let's say, next year, kind of bottom 5?
That's a different
kind
story.
of thing, right? Like, that's a different story altogether. And I don't know if Kent Hughes wants to play it that close to the wire, right? I don't know. I would just love, in an ideal world for me, it's like, where we're adding to this team, but it doesn't need to be like that absolute like game breaker, like something in our top 6 that would help us. Obviously, we're talking about like hypotheticals, ideal situation, which, like you said, Josh, is very hard to do, right? Like, maybe get somebody who doesn't need to be the perfect fit, but like on a shorter term deal. Like, all I'm saying is that Kent Hughes doesn't need to go for the home run this offseason. We know that in terms of the timing, there's not this huge pressure on him, but I think he wants to do something to help this team get better, right? Because it's kind of this sweet spot right now where they stay a little bit too long in the rebuild, it can get tricky where maybe you can stay there a little bit too long, but we know Demidov is coming, right? There's reasons to be patient, but you can see obviously like a world where they're trying to add somebody, even just to improve this team a little bit, right? To kind of take those step up, to kind of avoid some of those projections that we're seeing for next season.
Yeah, well, we're going to get into that in a second, but I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, as always. Like, next year, I think is a much bigger one. And again, would I be disappointed with the bottom 5 finish? Yeah, because I think natural progression by the Habs players would naturally mean progression in the standings. But again, it's no rush. I think being patient is what we should be doing, but it's so hard to do that sometimes, isn't it? Like, it's so hard just to sit back and say we're being patient. But anyway, that is what it is. I think you made a great point. I need to get back to some chats as we got another channel member, Derek Rendell, who I believe you're re-upping, or at least, well, you were a channel member for a long time anyway. So welcome back to the hat trick tier, Derek Rendell. I believe your name is still in the base bar down below. If not, I'll definitely add it. Thank you so much. Gonna read through some of the super chats. Denis Ronget saying thank you to our hosts. They're so interesting and bring enjoyment to our lives. Thank you, Denis. I mean, like, that it's crazy. Again, how often do we say, like, it's crazy that we bring so much joy to you people? Like, we're just dudes, and it's like it's a ton of fun doing this. So to see that support is unbelievable. Sly Rider, channel member as well, longtime channel member. The problem having Dach, Newhook, and One the same line is there's no finisher or scorer. That's actually, I mean, they're all primary playmakers, I would say, but like at this point, I would argue those are the 3 best forwards outside the top line. So it's like, you gotta get something. Someone can turn into a scorer, you know? Rafi saying, I was born in Armenia and moved to Montreal. The only thing I know about Armenia, I know Yerevan, I believe the Pink City is what they call it, right? But that's really cool. An Armenian who moved to Montreal, always so cool to see where the fans come from. We get people all over the map coming in here. So thank you again for being here and for now being a channel member, courtesy of Denis. Mark saying, I think was a finisher. I think so too. Yes, Mark. Sorry, Mark. Yeah, it was good. Our direction is so good, and their best quality is patience. Like we said, Jesse, I think that's the big thing. Like, not rushing into a move. My gosh, how much does that cost so many other teams?
We see it all the time, right? And that's the big thing. And, we've said kind of on the pod in the past that when Kent Hughes, like, when we're getting that success in the future, I think that's going to be one of the things that he calls upon the most, that they were happy that they did, right? And again, Kent has his timeline, and, he's being flexible with that. He knows what's too long and what's not, right? Obviously, I think the fact that he's just made so many great decisions allows us, Josh, to have more patience with this team than we would have normally, right? Doesn't that kind of make sense? Like, he's done so well, so he's just kind of, really gotten so much trust from us, right, as a fan base from that. So it's important to do it well because we know what the plan is to kind of be there year in, year out. And that's obviously really hard to do. But if you get this young core like they're building together and you can grow, you have a lot of young players, they're hitting their prime. It's just math at a certain point that they're going to produce statistically good seasons, which is going to help this team do well in the standings, right? So as much as like we don't want that bottom 5, maybe in a certain ways, like in a lot of ways, we could say that it is best for this team. At the same time, I can't help but feel that this team's going to find that happy balance of being patient while still improving.
Yep, that's the thing. That's the key thing. And unfortunately, those things are very tough to go hand in hand, whether it's, on the players' side or on the management side, right? Trying to be patient while you're not doing that great is always hard, but we believe, and I think it's going to happen. Rafi's saying we need a dynamic scorer. Well, we got a guy by the name of Ivan Demidov. Even though he's more of a playmaker, I think he can turn into that. Let's see. We got Blanco saying the honeymoon rebuild phase is over. Now we need to be good with what we have, for sure. Frank saying, I think he's confident with the young core. Mark saying, everyone on every podcast, the Habs might be in the fight for a wild card spot. Knowing they're a couple of seasons away from truly contending, why waste cap space and roster development spot now? Not a bad point either. I think we'll get into some of this stuff in a lot of videos, and I think we'll probably get into touch on that in a little bit as well. We got some people saying hi, what's up to everyone in the chat as well. Don't go for a UF now. I don't know if I can wait until preseason, says Xhekaj, another channel member. I agree. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on here. We gotta get moving though, Jess. We are burning through time. There's so many channel members in the chat that it's hard to keep up sometimes. We're trying to answer everyone, but I absolutely love the support that everyone's shown. Final thing, and I'm going to show the standings right after that. Talking about the final thing that Caleb mentions in this article is Montembeault and Primeau performing at an elite level. Now, here's the thing. An elite level is, I mean, I don't know how you would define it. Like, to me, an elite level, if your starting goalie is elite level, I would say he's top 5 in the NHL. I mean, that's my definition. Some people might say top 10. It depends what you say. Like, to me, a top 10 goalie is a star goalie. A top 5 goalie is an elite goalie. And as a tandem, I think there's potential for them to do it. I don't want to spend too much time on this because we do have a lot of stuff to get into. I think this is maybe the least likely of all the things. And while we have seen goalies be able to carry teams to solid records, it matters more so in the postseason than in the regular season because there's so many other factors over the course of a big sample size in an 82-game season. But also, like, if your defense isn't that amazing defensively, you're going to let your goalies hang out to dry more than you'd like. And that's one thing, I would say that's Montreal's biggest weakness at this very moment. I mean, established goaltending, we're kind of on that topic now, but, like, just looking at what's to come, yeah, there's some good prospects coming up, but, like, true solid defense, you can add that in free agency, but I think that's the Habs' biggest weakness. So for this to happen, I think it's this plus your defense needs to take a step up in their own zone. So I feel like it's the least likely, but I feel like it can have a solid effect, though I don't know if this is going to really boost the Habs a ton, unless, again, it is legit top 5 pairing in the league level.
With our young decor, we can't really expect that elite level of goaltending from Samuel Montembeault and Primeau, but we can expect very good level play and then continuing and building upon a very strong season of work last year, right? You have to feel like both of them played very well. Primeau, honestly, like his spot was not guaranteed. He fought for it. He had some phenomenal games this year. So a big story going into this season is Primeau as well. We're starting to know what to expect a little bit more out of Montembeault. Primeau, we still need to see more of that, right? But absolutely, we know that, they're capable of some really solid hockey, so obviously with this young team, it's going to be hard, but we just need them to continue playing well. You have to deal with a tandem now of only 2 goalies. That's going to help them being in more rhythm. I could see even better year from both of them as they kind of, Montembeault gets into his prime. Primeau continues to develop, continues to get those reps. I would say right before we kind of switch topics. So the most important thing I would say for the Habs going into the season, it's probably the biggest given, which is even the nice part about this, but still the most fundamental part for the Habs to have success next year is the first line continuing to click. That's where it starts. That's where it finishes. I do believe just because of the chemistry, we've seen it. That's what makes me such a believer that it's going to continue and even get better into next year. But that's what we need, right? Getting this team clicking, not waiting to have this line together by, the second half of the season, right? Like starting off strong from the beginning, I think is going to have a huge impact on this team's finishing in the standings.
And you know what? I don't know if it's my number one thing, but the first thing that came to mind that could, like, when I thought of this prompt, right? And I was like, okay, well, what are some things that can, like, maybe the Habs are not good at that they could really improve on and jump next season? I think it's very much in line with what you just said, but to me, like, can you imagine if they jump from, like, one of the worst power plays in the league to, like, a top 10 or top 15 power play? Right? But that goes hand in hand with the first line clicking, right? And again, it's not just going to come out of nowhere, but we're going to have a new special teams coach this year. Alex Burrows has now moved into player development. I don't know how much of a difference that'll make considering Marty St. Louis' actual influence on the power play, but at the same time, like, if you can make things click, sometimes teams that are not that skilled on paper can churn out a really good power play if they have the right kind of strategy, this and that. And Habs do have an elite goal scorer in the likes of Caufield and the guy like Slav, who could very well put up 30 goals if all things go right. So I don't think it's that crazy, but I digress. The reason we keep saying bottom 5 team is because of this. Now, this is something that was posted on Reddit, and it's basically putting all the main sportsbooks, three of the top ones, Caesar Sportsbook, DraftKings, and BetMGM all together, putting their point predictions for teams and ranking them. And if you see again, Montreal is ranked as the 5th worst team, just behind Calgary. I feel bad for Flames fans, honestly, sometimes. But, I mean, take a look at that. The Sharks still projected to be bottom of the standings. This says the Habs are going to pick 5th overall for a 3rd straight year. And when I look at this team, yes, I understand the players are young. I absolutely understand the players are young, and I understand their speculation. I understand that to take a jump, you're going to need some more production, and it's not guaranteed that Suzuki's going to get better, Caufield's going to get better, Slav, Hudson, whatever, and Monty. Like, it's possible Monty takes a step back. It's possible the goaltending's worse. It's possible Matheson regresses a bit. There are possibilities. When I look at this, and I just know the drive and the passion that so many Habs players have to get better and to improve, and how desperately they want to win, that cannot be understated. Will that translate a bottom 5 team into a top 5 team? No, it won't, but it can make the difference in many, many games. And it's the reason Montreal had so many comebacks last year. And again, like you said earlier, Jesse, don't forget those 1-goal games that the Habs lost, or like I see in the chat, I think Planko said, those shutouts that were lost for, say, Cayden and Primeau because of defensive mistakes. When I look at this team and I look at the passion, I look at the roster construction, I look at who's coming up, I can't help but see a team that's going to finish, bottom 10 maybe, bottom 5, like, I'm not going to say it's impossible, because I think it's almost irresponsible to say that anything's impossible, but I think the Habs are going to fight tooth and nail, and I think they're going to be quite a bit higher than this projection.
And you really said by saying tooth and nail, right? Because that's one thing that this Habs team did all year was they competed. They were in every game. If we remember, I know Habs Digest Nation, like, you guys know, watching those games, like, they were fighting a lot of those 1-goal games. They never gave up. You always knew, even if they were down 2, like, they could really solidly make a game of it. So there's a lot to be said about that, right? If we're looking at this, I think, some teams like, the Sabres, the Sens, maybe getting a little bit too much. I expect even the Penguins maybe to continue to regress. I think they're more on the slide down there, but obviously, that being said, this is a tough hill to climb. It's still hard. There's a lot of parity in the NHL now more than ever. So making that jump is difficult. So that's why when you need to do it, you need to pick the right time, and you need to be aggressive. You need to really, you can't just, halfway, we're going to test the waters and to try and be competitive. It's either you know what your time and you really go in all the way, right? Because you really need that momentum to be able to carry you through there. That being said, I think that there's 4 pillars, 4 main things, which I think will really allow the Habs to kind of climb out of this coming in next year. Some of the points we've already touched on, so I won't go on them too much, but having a first line together for the full season is huge. And we know sportsbooks, like, to be fair, they're very good at what they do. There is very little difference between all these different sportsbooks. They're in business for a reason. So we're going to have to prove a lot of the cynics, a lot of the critics wrong in this case. That first line, though, being together, huge underrated factor. This team looked different. You can't underestimate what having a whole other half of a year, 41 games, can do for a team in the standings, right? I think Kirby Dach obviously coming back, huge for many reasons. Hudson, though, I think Lane Hudson is going to have a huge effect on this team right away. It's going to bring more electricity. Team's going to be more dynamic. Not only are they going to be more competitive, more people are going to want to watch the Habs. That's right. I'm talking to you, Leaf fans, that like to come in here at Habs Digest sometimes. He's just an exciting player. If you just like watching hockey, you're going to want to see what Lane Hudson's up and doing, how he's weaving, how he's dodging. It looks like he's like a dodgeball pro, right? Yeah. Dodge, duck. He's got all of it, Lane Hudson, right? But the last thing that I think is really going to allow for the Habs to take a jump up is Marty's development. He said, like, even last year, they couldn't even get into concepts on the power play, the PK, too much because they wanted to work on their 5-5. They saw the first year that Marty got there, their 5-5 improved. Now we're expecting those PK, and those power play to improve, which, like you mentioned, Josh, though, it's so important for winning hockey. So much hockey, so based on stats, right? If you have a good power play, probably going to be a good team in the NHL. It's really as simple as that. That being said, right, it's not an easy thing to do, but if you're able to do it, you're going to have success, right? So I think Marty having another year with this team, getting to now actually get into the finer details is where we'll actually kind of see some of the finer points and some of the points coming out as a result of that.
I think so too. And like you said, like little things can change a team so drastically. Like what if Hudson comes in and he's an amazing power play quarterback, right? And he can revolutionize it, right? These little things that you don't think about. But yeah, I completely agree. I saw some comments saying from Rafi saying, for example, I think we finished where the Flyers finished. And like last year, Jesse, that was the thing. The Flyers were not expected to be good. They were expected to be trash. And look what they did. They were fighting for a playoff spot until the very last second of the season. And as much as some people like to hate on John Tortorella, he got the most out of that team. So anyway, there's an incredible amount of stuff there. But Jesse, I got to go back to the chat because guess what we got? We got a super chat from Marc Patry for $10. Thank you so much. Leave a like on Mark's message, guys. If you're in the chat, leave a like on that because that's incredible support. And while you're at it, leave a like on the stream. We got 42 likes. We got over 200 people in here. I can guarantee you at least 50 of you haven't hit that like button yet, and you know how much we love it when you hit that like button. But thank you, Mark. Reading the message. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Haven't watched LDS nor TVA Spal for commentary since I found your channel. That is crazy, and thank you so much. Like, you know, I don't know if I would say we're competitors to them. I mean, we're not going to be live broadcasting the games, but when it comes to YouTube analysis, when it comes to being positive and being smiley, having all the latest stuff for you guys, really appreciate that, Jesse. That's an incredible compliment right there.
It is absolutely, you know, because like we grew up on TSN and everything else like that as well, right? And we obviously appreciate so many of the people that, you know, have kind of led the way for us, and just to be able to get that type of feedback, right? Because we love being able to be here and help, you know, provide this information, also like the interactions and just everything else like that. It's like we also appreciate so much of the feedback and the insights that we get from our viewers as well, right? You know, so if you love hockey, you know, you're a Habs fan, this is just a dream come true, right? To be able to chat about it in this type of way.
Yeah, it's unreal. It's crazy again. I can't emphasize enough how crazy it is to be able to do this every single day. It is really awesome. And I'm sorry for all the channel members that we can't get to the chats because we have a lot we got to get into in the video. We're trying our best here, but there's so many of you now thanks to me, really, and there's some awesome chats happening in the chat amongst you guys. Like it's unbelievable. Let's see. Oh, we got Alex in the chat. We got Ikram here. 200 plus points from the first line, 100 plus from the second. Finish around 15 to 20. 200 points from the first line. I think that's more than doable. I think that's really good. That's what, 66 points each. That's really not too bad. I think that math is right. Yeah, I think that's right. 66, 67 points each. 100 plus from the second line. I think that's more than doable. I think the second line will get more than that. I think they'll each get more than 35 points. But I love that. I absolutely love that there. And Denis agreeing with Mark. And Rack saying hit the like button. Absolutely. Shout out from Norway. We got Henry saying hi from YYT. Well, hello from my home city. Henry Wong. It's always great to see Newfoundland representation. We have a lot of Newfoundlanders in the chat come in as well. And of course, Hockey Junkie, Newfoundlander himself. There's a lot of Newfies here in the Habs community. So it's always really cool to see people from, and we got people from Armenia so far. We got someone from Norway. We got people from Newfoundland, Jesse. And we know we get a lot of Australians coming in. Well, Australians or people who moved to Australia coming in the chat. We got David from Ireland who comes in all the time. Amazing stuff. So thank you guys so much. We got to move on. We got too much to talk about. Take a breath. Let's move on. I wanted to talk about this rookie camp coming up, and notre capitaine Maxime Pellerin s'est mérité une invitation au camp de recrute des Canadiens de Montréal. So Maxime Pellerin of the Tigres de Victoriaville, he's from Victoriaville himself. He got invited to the Habs, I believe it's rookie camp. And anyway, yeah, so he's a very interesting guy. So I wanted to talk a little bit about him, Jesse, because there's an interesting aspect about him. Now, I saw this thread on Twitter, and I saw it on Reddit, and people talking about him, and one kind of thing that a lot of people were saying that I agree with, this guy just screams late bloomer. Again, not saying he's going to play for the Habs or anything. Maybe someday in Laval, maybe he impresses, maybe someday in the ECHL. I don't know, right? But it's always cool to give Quebec guys their shot at the Habs rookie camp. But especially when you look at in his draft year, he only played 26 regular season games. He was hurt. He played 19 playoff games, couldn't get into that rhythm. But immediately the season after, he went on to score 29 goals in 65 games for 60 points, which, again, not like perfect. But then 86 points with 40 goals, then 73 points with 34 goals. He's the captain. He's 21. I'm not saying he's going to come out here and be a superstar, but I do think it's really cool that, like, the guys that we've seen the Habs invite to the camps, like, for example, Josh Nadeau as well, like, guys that have this really good scoring pedigree, who look like they could really do well in the right situation, the Habs just kind of going under the radar, like, you know what? I think you're a good guy to bring in. It gives him a chance. It gives some other guys a chance to play against a clearly talented player. And if he's a late bloomer like this, again, 13 goals in 14 playoff games this year for Victoriaville is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, and we got a good player not too long ago from just a tryout at training camp, right? In Arber Xhekaj, right? So absolutely, there is sometimes some value to kind of get. It's so easy to write off these players, right? Players that are battling, whether it's in the minor leagues, the AHL, and everything else like that. But that's what's so brutal about hockey and injury. Sometimes you can be a good player, as we are suggesting this player is, but you get a couple of those injuries under your belt, right? And that's what maybe kind of, derails your development. So that's why the Habs are taking a flyer on this player, is they see that, okay, 40 goals 2 years ago, 34 goals last year, 21 points, in 14 playoff games last year. He's got some, as well as good size, 6 foot 190, right? There's some good tools there. And they feel that maybe just because the injuries, maybe it's a reason why maybe he didn't hear his name called at the draft. Mm-hmm. So always nice to see these players, that have worked really hard. He won the championship in Victoriaville with the Tigers there. And always nice to see these guys getting their chances. We never want to write them off until their time is done.
No, you never know. And again, the odds of him ever playing for the Habs are quite low, but I just love to highlight these little things because give these guys the credit they deserve. Because, think about it. This guy was probably the best playoff goal scorer, at least one of the best in the QMJHL this past season. And there's a chance that he would just never get a single minute on NHL ice. And some people who watch Victoriaville would know, but now we get to know. And I find that really awesome too, because even people there's a lot of people who get incredible achievements, incredible accomplishments that fly under the radar that don't get appreciated. So shout out to Maxime Pellerin, hoping for a really good rookie camp from him. And I think it'll be really, really fun. Now, Jesse, it's time to get into what the fans have all been waiting for this whole thing. I want to read some channel member chats as well. First, really great community. Absolutely agree. Vaudreuil, homeboy. Junkie collab, do it. Might be on the way, Zach. It could be like Xavier Simoneau. Yeah, I think that could very well be the case as well. So there's a lot of great things with Maxime there. But now it's time. It's time to get into our boy Demidov. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have probably seen this interview. If not, I believe I linked it down below. It should be the Twitter link in the description. Let me actually go check. I should be able to see if I did. Yeah, there's a Twitter link there. Yeah, you can see it. There's a Twitter link there in the description. And if you go to that, you'll see this interview where they kind of translate it piece by piece. But I'm just going to show you guys. So, Demidov was asked... Oh, that's not it. Well, actually, I'll go to Demidov first. I'll get to that Andrei Markov thing after, so that's pretty cool. So he was asked, what if you're told you're not good enough? What if you're told you're the 13th man on this team? He said, well, I don't know. Let's see what the situation will be like. Maybe it'll be possible to play somewhere in the VHL so that there's some kind of game practice, because that's very important at my age. I agree, but, very interesting there. And to go on, when he was asked about going to North America, about why he didn't, he said, I'm not ready to go there in general now. I want to be here for another year. I think that now specifically I need to work more. And the thing about this, Jesse, is he's talking about, if he needs to get game reps, he'll just go to the VHL. Now, I think we're all expecting him to play in the KHL. I think he's more than good enough. But he was also asked, could you maybe do what Matvei Michkov did and do the contract buyout and go over to North America? Which is what we thought originally might happen if he wasn't good enough to play in the KHL, go to the VHL. And his response was kind of I'm not in a position to do that now. I want to stay here. So this kind of paints a picture, I'm sure he's just given PR answers as well. There's definitely an element of that to it. But Jesse, when I was listening to this, it's in Russian, so I can only trust what the translation said. So anyone that speaks Russian that can translate better, please let us know or send us if it's an incorrect translation. But the vibe I got from it was very much that, no matter what happens, he's either going to play in the KHL or the VHL or maybe the MHL, even though it wasn't mentioned. But it sure seems like under all circumstances, he's staying in Russia this year, which is fine with me. But, I just hope it doesn't come to, him having to play the whole season in the minor leagues. I hope he gets at least a nice chunk of games in the KHL.
The difference with Demidov is it seems like he has some connections, right, with SKA. Obviously, the fact that Montreal Canadiens have some connections as well with SKA as well, seems like it's definitely going to help in this situation. But he knows he's going to need to work to get in the time in. But it seems like everybody's on the same page here. Hughes feels like he should be there for another year. Ivan Demidov, Habs Digest feels like he should be there for another year to marinate. And it's so amazing to see, Josh, that it's a confident young man, but he knows I still need to improve. There's still some things I need to do a little bit better, right? And I feel like he has the skill, even though he's already being put in a high pressure situation. Like, what perfect training, to come to Montreal, right? Where he's already in it. He's having a spike to earn his spot. Like, he's going to be ready by the time that he comes to the Montreal Canadiens. And if he ends up having to play, as we've kind of talked about, maybe, 9 to 10 games in the VHL, it's okay, just as long as, like, you're kind of, as you were kind of saying, Josh, as long as it's not like the majority of the season, it's like we want to see him in the KHL getting his reps. If he has to go for a couple games, that's okay. That's perfectly par for the course. That's what a lot of star players who have come to the NHL from Russia have done in their draft plus 1 year, right? So totally all right, but it's nice for him to know what he needs. I honestly think that it's perfect for his development. Like, for sure, he's going to have to battle a little bit more. Would it be a little bit better if his ice time was just guaranteed with the KHL? In one way, you could say that's good, but the other way, it's great that he's going to have to learn to fight right away for his spot, right? And everything he gets, you have to feel like anytime if he does go to the VHL, he's just going to come back, ready to go after that. So knowing the talent that this young man has, the way he plays that complete game, which is going to endear him to his coaches very much, I'm totally not worried about this young man.
No, and I think it's really good that he's super self-aware as well. He's like, if I'm not getting minutes in the KHL, I want to get game reps. And he realizes that's what's important for him. Like, he's so self-aware about everything, about his weaknesses, his strengths, what he needs to do to improve this and that, and his drive to get better. And he's loved in the locker room. It's like, and we saw that video of him with those crazy handles today, stick handling through a bunch of, it was unbelievable. Like, I think, at the end of the day, we can talk about what's going on with him. Do we know what's best? We have our opinions, but I think Demidov, I think he really knows what he wants to do best, what's best for him, not only, feelings wise, because it's got to feel tough to just up and leave for North America at 18 years old after spending your whole life in Russia, right? Like, there's other aspects to it other than just hockey, even though I'm sure he considers, his hockey, his life, very much so. So it's very interesting. We'll have to wait and see. And we want to get into a comment from Andrei Markov on this and discuss the situation a bit more, but I wanted to go through some chats as well before we go there. We got Derek saying, I go to the Eagles. Cape Breton screaming Eagles, I'm assuming, often with my daughters. Pellerin has good skills. I believe it. I can't wait to see him. I think he's going to be a really interesting watch. I think Nadeau as well is going to be super interesting. He put up such a good season at the University of Maine, on par with his brother Bradley, and Bradley was a first-round pick, so just saying. Though Josh is 3 inches shorter. And whatever. George is in the chat. George, one of, if not the most passionate channel member for the channel. Long time. You guys all know George. George is the best. Hi, Josh, Jesse, and friends. I finally made it. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm just going to watch today. Have a great night. Well, have a great night, George. It's fantastic to see you, as always. Rack saying ChatGPT is one of the best translation tools. I agree. I actually use that a lot. I also use DeepL. But when it's audio, I find it's harder to, because it's just Russian audio, right? I can't really type the Russian either. So, but yeah, I agree with that for sure. Derek saying, I'm pumped to watch him in the World Juniors. Demidov versus Fowler will be one to mark on our Christmas calendar. Jesse, we were talking about this the other day. I don't think Fowler qualifies. Because I was looking, he didn't make the Team USA team. And I think because I don't know what the age cutoff is. I mean, I know it's the under 20 tournament and he will be 20 because he turns 20 in, I think, November. I don't know if there's a cutoff in December or what it is, but from what I can see, I don't think Fowler's eligible. Maybe someone in the chat can clarify that, but so that might be something that we can't write on the calendar. But regardless, I think Demidov at the World Juniors, Jesse, is going to be something to witness.
Absolutely. A big part of his development as well, right? Getting to shine on that big stage. We know the cat's out of the bag. We all know how good he is now, and he's just going to get another opportunity to really compete underneath that pressure. We all love the World Juniors as it is, right? But when you throw in a superstar prospect for the Habs into it, that's just going to absolutely be next level. So really looking forward to seeing those games.
Oh yeah, it's going to be absolutely amazing. I'm just going to do something really quick for someone in the chat. Image One Nation, there should be a join button next to subscribe. I just saw you asking this, but if not, you can click that link and that should bring you right to it. So just wanted to do that for you. So thank you also for wanting to be a channel member. Incredibly generous. We don't expect that from anyone, but really, really appreciate that so much. All right, let's get into the Andrei Markov quote. And I like to call Andrei Markov, he looks a lot like one of my best friends. It's kind of hilarious. Anyway, but he said, talking about Demidov, he was asked about it. Of course, Markov himself, Russian, he's played in Russia, he's coached in Russia. I think you just have to do your job. Expectations are high after being selected in the first round, but there's still a lot of work to be done to establish himself if he keeps working, he'll have a great future. He went on to kind of talk about what it's like in Montreal and all this stuff, but Markov, Jesse, I think is a guy that you really want to listen to, and to hear the confidence he has in Demidov, like, Markov is arguably my favorite Montreal Canadian of all time. Like, you can make that argument. I think I've said that before. I think I said that in one of the channel member videos. Like, I mean, Michael Ryder's my favorite, but, like, realistically, like, he's what got me into the team. But Markov is just, I mean, okay, this is not going to become a Markov session where I just spend this whole time telling everyone how much I love him. But he knows what he's talking about. He thrived in Montreal. He's gone through a somewhat similar path to Demidov, and I think to hear the praises from ex-Habs, people who have played in Montreal, who know what it is to play and to succeed at a very high level in Montreal, and to have gone through a similar upbringing in Russia, and to know about Demidov, and I believe they've spoken together. I'm not sure, but I believe they at least tangentially know each other. Like, there's not many players that have played for Montreal, Jesse, whose opinion I would respect more, especially regarding this situation.
Absolutely. Andrei Markov, one of the most underrated Habs. So nice to see you giving him that love, right? Because he comes to the city and he gets that love. People still know him, right? But you got to feel like he deserves even more of it for the amazing career that he had, how he helped this team in just so many ways, right? So seeing that such a, skilled player in the past, has his faith in Ivan Demidov is absolutely amazing. Why would he not though, right? But it's so nice that maybe somebody like Demidov can kind of learn a couple things from this player and his experience, right? And what Andrei Markov was saying to Demidov was just like, this player is going to have the time of his life playing in Montreal, that they love hockey here like nowhere else. Believe me, we know that here on this channel, right? And just what you get from that as a result, right? The passion from the fans, the electricity, right? That's important for a young player, right? Again, like you alluded to earlier, you're coming from another country really far away. You don't quite know what to expect until you get there. So, to have somebody like Andrei Markov, who's had such an amazing NHL career as he has, and said, like, this guy's going to be all right, have faith he's going to put in the work and you have a great time, I think is just, amazing news for what we expect to be an even brighter future here in Montreal.
Yeah, it's just so cool. I just love talking about Andrei Markov when I get the chance. It's awesome praise, and yeah, again, like we said, he knows what it takes to succeed. So, and we know Demidov just loves hockey more than anything else too, and getting better. So it's going to be unreal. I want to say, George, again, thanks, Josh. Everything is great. I'm just mentally tired. Yes, I do have a brain. Well, we never doubted that for a second, George. Thank you so much for stopping by. Really appreciate you. Love Markov, says Rafi. I mean, so do we. I love Andrei Markov. He was so good. And we got Image One Nation, who figured out how to become a channel member, and we want to thank you so much. Not just the base tier, but the hat trick tier, Image One. We're going to be adding your name. We're going to make a little jot note, adding it to the base bar. I just gotta write this down here because I'm not going to forget this, because you went through all that effort to become a channel member. We're definitely going to recognize that. So I'm just going to add this to my little list of to-do things, which is ever growing. So thank you very much. And Denis Jesse has his humble opinion with a bunch of dots. Denis Ranger saying, we are like, oh crap, I can't really, oh yeah, there we go, it's hidden behind the heart. We are like the early years of the young Gretzky team with the Oilers. That is, you know what? Why not shoot for the stars? Why not? Who's Gretzky in this situation, Denis? Is it Slav? Is it Demidov? I'm assuming it's Demidov, but I don't know. Who's Gretzky in this situation? I mean, Jesse, that is some high praise. I mean, there's, you look at a lot of these Gretzky teams. As the years went on, he had many incredible teammates, alongside Gary Curry. Of course, we got like Messier, who was in there. We got Paul Coffey, and we got lots of guys in net, Grant Fuhr, all this stuff. But to say that the Habs could be, and maybe he just means in terms of cup winning potential. Look, the Habs have one of the best prospect systems in the NHL, and they have some great established stars. Hudson's Paul Coffey is exactly what I was thinking, Rafi. That was the first thing that popped into my head. Like, no joke. Yeah, absolutely. Do you think the Habs have potential to win multiple cups with this core, especially considering how hard it is to win a cup? And the recent teams that have had continued success as well, there's a lot of them. And of course, in like the mid-2010s, we had that Blackhawks Kings section there. We have, the Bruins, who won a cup in 2011. They were always really good. And then of course the Lightning have won multiple. Can the Habs get to that level with what they have now? I think there's a world where they can get there eventually, but I think it's going to involve a lot more trades, a lot more signings, along with the big thing is having a lot of your young players outperform their contracts. And I think that right there is the single biggest recipe to having long-term success.
Yeah, definitely. And also having players that absolutely live and breathe for the game, right? Because that's what separated Wayne Gretzky from so many other players. Like, he just loved hockey so much, right? And we see with like an Ivan Demidov, a Slav type, these are guys that just absolutely, like, they just spend the whole day at the rink, right? And they're happy. That's like how they like to go about it, right? So again, it's the idea of having this young team and then being able to grow. I would say big takeaways. We're looking to, like, be in the mix for many years in a row. We can look at the example of the Florida Panthers, right? Where it's like, they won the Stanley Cup last year. They came very close the year before. Why? Because they have players that perform well in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I knew as soon as they made that trade for Matthew Tkachuk with Jonathan Huberdeau for the Calgary Flames, I said, okay, in my opinion, the Florida Panthers might get a little bit worse during the regular season, which they're still a pretty good regular season team, but get better. But they'll be better in the playoffs when it matters. But that was like my analysis of the short-term effect of the Huberdeau trade, just because getting a player like Matthew Tkachuk, even though we don't like him, that's the reason for the Panthers' success in the playoffs, is having a player like that. If you can have players that are gamers, which we see Caufield's been really good in the playoffs in a short sample size, Suzuki's been really good. Mm-hmm. You don't know till you get there, but it's like those type of guys with those type of attitudes, right? Because when it comes to playoffs, it's the pressure and it's your ability to be able to handle that. And we're getting a lot of good indicators from Slav, from Demidov. Again, being happy-go-lucky, it's not just for any reason. Like, people make this choice, right? Because it can help in a lot of ways in life. When situations get tough, to kind of lighten the mood and everything else, is kind of, helps lift up everybody in the room there, right? So I think that's going to be the big thing is, do we got playoff performers? Do we have players that can play well in the playoffs when it matters? I look at Slav. I look at a player that's going to be very good in the playoffs. Like, this guy can mix it up, winning those puck battles, everything else, that tighter type of hockey. So that's what I really see from this team, and I think that that's perfectly right to have the Edmonton Oilers as the archetype here.
Yeah, you know what? It's not the craziest thing I've ever heard, which is kind of crazy that we're saying this. I mean, it's insane what we're comparing to right now. And if an outsider from another team came in here and they're like, what are these guys talking about? Montreal, it's the Gretzky Oilers? Are you crazy? Maybe. But, like, that's kind of what we do here. Like, it's like, why not be positive? Why not, like, are we saying that's the expectation? Absolutely not. But, trying to be excited about the future is something that's just gives you some joy inside, right? So it's really nice. I want to look through some more chats there. Image One Nation saying Armia is Mario, according to Junkie. Very true. So maybe we're the Penguins instead. Who is Yager? Well, it might be Slav. I mean, who knows? Planko says, you know what the Hawks and Bruins winning multiple cups had in common? Slovak star player, followed by the Slavzilla emoji. I mean, we got Hossa, we got Chara, and we got Slav. Why not put them all together, right? The Slovak super team, the Slovak cup leaders. I'm on board with that. George saying, hi, Image One Nation. Welcome to the members family. This is the best channel anywhere. Thank you so much, George. Really appreciate all these comments. It's unreal, the camaraderie we have in this chat. And on that note, Jesse, I wanted to say this before I get into this. There's a lot of channel member chats. The camaraderie, I think, is one thing that is going to set the Habs apart. Now, I'm not going to go out and say that I know what the team chemistry was like for the Oilers back in the 80s and 90s. Like, I just don't know. I wasn't around to watch it, and I haven't done enough digging on that because it's hard to know about that stuff in the past, right? It's easy to know in the moment about which locker rooms are good and bad, but you even asked me 5 years ago about most teams in the league, I'll have no idea. Unless it's a certain coach. Doug is in the chat as well. Doug Saylor is. I know it says Jordan, guys, but this is Doug. He says, hi, guys. Go Habs, go. Well, thank you so much for stopping by, Doug. We got all the channel members here. Great to see. Great talking to you last Thursday, Doug. Same thing with Alex. I had another great chat with them about lots of stuff, including myself and Doug talking a good bit about wrestling, which I didn't even realize is coming to Vancouver for Survivor Series this year. Probably not a ton of WWE fans in the chat there now, but that was awesome. Let me get back to my train of thought. The camaraderie, like, when you're playing sports, this is something I've said before, and I've probably said it on stream before, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself, but knowing that your teammates have your back is so valuable because it allows you to, I wouldn't say be riskier, but to just play more as yourself without worrying about something bad happening, right? You do you because you know your teammates have your back. It allows you to be much more confident, knowing that if you make a mistake, there's someone there for you, knowing that if you get beat up, someone's going to be there to cover you, knowing like all these different things. That combined with wanting to win for each other, when you see players and teams and them fighting for their own teammates, them fighting for the team to win as a whole as opposed to someone getting their own stats, that goes a long way in terms of winning culture and actually winning games as well. When everyone's bought in, you can see the system is so fluid. Everyone knows where to go, what to do, where to be. that can be so valuable and, again, boosting a team to that other level. And I think that's one of the big things Montreal has done, that camaraderie within the locker room, the attitudes, and the leadership from Martin St. Louis. You know, again, it's yet to be seen whether that will lead to long-term success or playoff success. There's still a lot of, ifs, ands, and buts about this whole thing. But to me, that is one of the most important and I think slept on things when it comes to what the Habs are building for the future in terms of that specifically, and how the camaraderie is not only good off ice, but can really contribute to wins on ice.
And it's about like the identity of a team as well, right? And it goes across sports, whether it's like we go back in the day with like the Pittsburgh Steelers, or I hate to say it, but like the Boston Bruins, or, like the New England Patriots. Like these are all examples of teams that have like a clear identity. It's like, you kind of knew during their heyday what you could kind of expect from them, what they were building, right? And with the Habs, you'd have to say it's like, definitely a culture of a team that has each other's back, that's there to fight for each other every night, really play hard. And then also, so having that culture be in there, that camaraderie, like you said, but also that skill, right? Because you need to have that other aspect of it as well. So we're trying to get a bunch of really young, talented players all together, right? And that's really kind of getting to a point of where we need it, right? Because you only got so many spots in that top six. And I say the Habs, like, they have that long-term plan. They're doing a good job of kind of filling those spots as they see fit, right? So this team really kind of knowing what their identity is and really kind of that overall mission. I think you're so right, Josh, is so huge for this team.
Yeah, it's so exciting, isn't it? Like, even when the Habs lost, obviously they weren't happy, but when they won, the pure joy, jubilation on these guys' faces, and we're going to each other, pumping them up. Every single goal was like, "Hey, you scored!" Like, it's just it's so happy because so many people never even get to experience that. Like, it's even growing up playing sports, like, it was rare to have that kind of camaraderie on a team, because especially growing up, say junior high, high school, whatever, a lot of people are looking out for themselves because maybe they're looking for something after high school or something, right? Like, some people have different priorities, and to have that kind of full team buy-in is rare. And to have it at the NHL level, again, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but it's awesome. I went on too much of a rant there. It's like, it's feel good. I'm going to go to the chat again. I'm going to go to the chat again here. Let's keep going, Denis. I say Slaf is the Messier. As long as Slaf doesn't go to Vancouver. I know Vancouver fans hate Mark Messier. There's a lot to not like Mark Messier, about Mark Messier. But anyway, Denis saying a good crossover. Canadian defense and Oilers attack. I mean, hey, that'd be... Yeah. You mean this Oilers team that's projected to finish, that Oilers team, or even this Oilers team that's projected to finish first in the standings? You never know. Oh no, is this really doing this? Right, okay, you know what, Jesse? I'm so glad that was the last image I had to show, because my hotkeys just broke again. So no more Super Chat hotkeys, unfortunately. No! Right as we say that, we're going to see, not to say no to the donation. I'm sorry. That's not, oh no, but I do have it here. I can play it here. I saved it because I knew the hotkeys would break, and I needed to thank Denis, because Denis is the friggin' best, and he donates all the time and gives so many subscriptions. Thank you so much, Denis, for being here as always. Another $10. Guys, leave a like on Denis' message. My gosh. 10th Super Chat on the stream as well. I'm flustered. Unbelievable. Thank you so much. Take the breath. Chill out. Let's work, as George says, oh yeah, we crazy. Sometimes you gotta,
Love it.
Sometimes you gotta chill. I did one solo video, Jesse, one day you couldn't do one, and half the comments were telling me to calm down. And it's like, the fact that we have the energy, like, doing this is like taking 5 hits of caffeine, like, not what you thought I was going to say, but, doing that, like, because we're just here, like, as soon as we hit go live, it's like, boom, that energy is on, isn't it?
It is every time, right? But it's our good people in the chat, right? That's giving it to us all the time, right?
Yeah.
But we're getting excited because we know that we're doing this the right way. I think there's a lot of reason to really be excited, but it's like that Kirby Dach injury hurts so much, Josh. But you know what? I wouldn't have changed a thing from last year. If tell me that's what we needed to go through to get that Ivan Demidov, the player that we need. Even though it hurts, no offense to Kirby, I would say do it again. I'd say, where's your other leg at? Put that one out. I'm just joking. But we needed to get this player on this team. It's really important, right? It's hard to, when we're talking about taking that next step up, we needed that high land, like we know Slaf. I think he's a superstar, right? But
Mm-hmm.
he needs that help, as well. And just that pure kind of 100-point type of guy, to kind of complement Satsa, I think was huge, right? So I think things are happening the way that it should, right? The stars are aligned for the Habs to really do this right when it happens. I mean, that's why we're so hyped up.
For sure. I'm just gonna take a minute to go through some of the last chats here because I think we've gone over time here, but we've just lost control, so that's fine. I'm going to go through some of the chats here. I see I used to watch WWE when I was a kid. I haven't heard about it for a while. Same for me. I stopped watching in 2009. I watched in 2008 and 2009, stopped watching. Quebec City hosted a Monday Night Raw last year. I went, just like, why not? Relive the childhood. I've been hooked ever since. No joke. It's amazing. And I know everyone's like, wrestling's fake. Wrestling is not, it's scripted, whatever, but so is the TV show. It's a TV show about wrestlers. And if you look at it from that perspective, that's literally what the head of WWE said. He's like, we're not a wrestling show. It's a show about wrestling. And if you look about it like that, I think it's entertaining. Anyway, read W. Crazy people are happy people, says Denis. Read WWE. My wife is friends with Becky Lynch. Are you serious? Baby. Your wife? So what? Like close friends? No, that is actually crazy. Jesse, I don't know if you know Becky Lynch, the man Becky Lynch. She was like, you can make an argument for her being the greatest female WWE superstar of all time. I mean, she's currently on a break from WWE, but my gosh, she is like right at the top of the top. So that is kind of insane.
That is interesting.
Yeah,
not huge into wrestling. My wife is actually huge into WWE. Fun facts.
Well, tell her that one of our fans' wives is friends with Becky Lynch. That is crazy. Denis saying, great entertaining. Have a good night. Thank you so much for the donation, Denis. Really, really appreciate it. Denis is the man. I thought I was the best. That says George. You are also the best, George. Everyone that comes into this chat is the best, right? Because like there's no favorites here. There's no nothing. I mean, every single person in here is so valued by us for taking time out of their day to support us, to watch us, but also to just like the donations are also beyond that, and like your channel membership and like just the passion you guys put in is unbelievable. So thank you for being here again. Great show. Look forward to anything. Hot take: Primeau will be the best starting goalie this season. Jesse, you've said that could be possible. I think that's one of, I know you haven't said that he's going to be the best, but I think that's one little hot take that you've kind of brought up a couple of times, saying like I think he could sneaky take over that 1A spot.
It'll take him a little bit of time to get that experience, but as he keeps going, he's got unreal athleticism. Like he's the type of guy where like Montembeault is a little bit more kind of steady, old faithful, reliable. Mm-hmm. Primeau's really good, but once in a while he'll just come out with like these lightning, electric type of saves, right? And it's hard to bet against a guy because that's showing a high level of athleticism and skill, right? So for me, it's like this guy has potential. So many people just thought he was completely out. Forget about Primeau. He's a buzz. He went out and earned a job in the NHL this season because of his good play. He didn't get nothing given to him. Difficult situation. So we'll see what he can do this year, right? But like he's an exciting young goalie to watch.
Yeah, for sure. There's so much amazing stuff. I'm excited for him too. Like so many young guys is unreal. And I do want to say, guys, there's so many chats here. People saying hi. Like I see Hoopty there, who's been around for so long. I see Zen Mysterio, who's been around for so long as well, and so many other names here and like even Bobby coming in saying I love your enthusiasm. Like there's a lot of messages that I can't get to read, but just know that I'm reading these messages, and a sincere thank you to every one of you that's leaving these chats, even if I don't get to them, because like there's so many in here that it's hard to do it, but you are all very much appreciated. George, I know you were joking, George, but I just wanted to take that moment to just give you the respect you deserve for being such a passionate channel member, and also everyone else in the chat. So you do deserve that. Good night to Frank, good night to George, good night to Rafi, good night to everyone. Just, I think that'll do it. Any final thoughts before we close off this another wonderful, fun Monday stream? As Alex says, get wrecked another. You tried to ruin the outro, didn't you, Alex? I guarantee you that's exactly what he tried to do. I guarantee you. Alex is the type of guy to do that. It's good talking.
Love it.
Good, I mean, like, yeah, love it. Unreal stuff. I mean, I'll re-ask you. Any final thoughts, Jesse? As Alex, I'm not going to say rudely interrupted because he gave $5, and I'm so grateful for that. I gotta honestly say thank you, Alex, so much. For the third time, any final thoughts, Jesse?
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, everyone, for being here again, making this so much fun. Our Habs Digest community is growing all the time. It's amazing to see. Thank you, Denis, for all the support. We love to see the community just growing, right? We're building and we're really growing. We're getting ready for that next season, right? We're going to be raring to go, get you all the information that you need. But, we just, we appreciate, being here to make these videos for you guys every single day. It's totally the best.
Yeah, it really is. It's a privilege, honestly, to do this every single day. Hoopty, I'll give you that reply. Colton and Kale, Dach, thoughts, Josh? Bring them all in. We need to start a new collection. We lost the Pitlick collection. I made this very clear that I didn't like losing the Pitlick collection. We'll start the Dach collection. Bring it alongside the Xhekaj collection. We're going to start another one. It's fine. I'm all for that. Bring them all in. All right. 20K Southside playoffs? I think that's more than doable. I think we can do it, Jesse. I think that's a good goal. We'll try to get there, but for now, that'll do it for this episode of Habs Dive. Like, how can you be upset? How can you be upset by someone by someone interrupting by saying "Go Habs G"? Just Ivman, thank you. Now, see now, what do you do? Because like we've been in this dilemma before. I could just redo it. One time I just cut the black. But I don't really want to do that because it's weird. They're trying to mess us up, Jesse. They're trying to... Oops. $2. Alex just dropped a toonie, of which Google scooped up 75 cents of it and has already put it in their own pockets. Thank you so much. This is... Yeah, they don't want it to end. I mean, that's the thing. Well, I mean, like, we can't if that keeps happening, but... What do you think we should do, Jesse? Do we like? I don't really want to cut the black because it gets weird with the ending stream on YouTube, and like I think it cuts it early. I don't know. What do you think? What's the plan here?
Again, I think we just got to give it to our good people. We got to keep going. I mean, as long as it's.
What do you guys want to talk about? I mean, look, if you want to keep this going. Let's talk or something, right? Like let's do something. I mean, I'm not gonna stick around forever here. We got stuff to do, but I mean, like, if you guys really want this to keep going, someone give me a subject. Okay, Alex says we need to make an NHL 24 channel member tourney. I haven't played an NHL game since 19, I think, but that might be interesting. So maybe I'll have to invest in an Xbox or PlayStation to get that. You don't play many video games, do you, Jesse?
I don't, but I like the idea of being able to play video games. Like, right? Like, I would love that. Honestly, I need to get back, get a PS5, start gaming again because I mean, I don't know if I'd play anything other than Chell.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, that's basically it. I used to play a lot of Call of Duty, a lot of NBA, but I stopped playing NBA after 2 years ago. It's just it got tough. Less than 2 months until the first game. Absolutely, Habs. We can talk about me, says George. We'll talk for a minute about George. Again, George being just like such a wonderful channel member, leaving comments in every video for so long. Like, let's spend a minute to give props to George here. And we get Mark, everyone in the chat actually who's still here. We only lost 20 people. How did only 20? Anyway, so anyone in the chat who wants to give some praise to George, do it. He says stop. Yeah, it's all right. You don't have to read the chats if you don't want to, George. We got another $2 donation from Mark Patrice saying this is nice. This is nice. This is absolutely alternate jersey. No more baby blue. I like the baby blue. I know it's cursed, but Jesse, I think we both really like those jerseys. I think they just look cool.
Yeah, for some reason it just kind of grew in us. I know like we didn't have the best record in it. That's what I think maybe soured it, but like they were pretty sweet. But I know, Josh, like we've been hearing like people might want to bring back, like, remember those white Habs jerseys where they had like the globe kind of on the side? Like how sweet would those be as maybe like some sort of alternate, like, man, absolutely. I love those jerseys.
Those are, yeah. Or the barber pole. I mean, that I think people hate.
There we go.
People hate
exactly.
That. Half the fan base hates the barber.
I love it.
I love it too. It's why it's part of the logo. Yeah, I mean, it's so cool. Like objectively, it's cool. But you're very right. Those white jerseys with like the white Habs logo in the middle with the work globes on the show. Yeah, I mean that is absolutely classic. I think they wore those for like a Winter Classic, right? With the brown pants. Oh, bring me back, as if I was alive in the 40s when they were wearing those. We want our guys to not get injured in our first games with Ottawa. Oh boy. Yeah, that's gonna be a rough one. Alex, a moment of silence in support of George. Image says, I like the Winter Classic. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Winter Classic are really good. Those are the best salts. The dark blue ones were so bad. I gotta say, those dark blues didn't do it for me, Jesse. Baby blue so much better than dark blue, in my opinion. I'm a baby blue guy. I like that color a lot.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. You know, it's always when you get in the Blues, you run in the territory of like, oh, are we too close to the Leafs sort of thing. I think, you know, you got to once in a while we can kind of do it right, but I think we might need to switch it up a little bit.
Yeah, we got Alex saying, imagine a black version with the logos red. We saw those, like, they had blackout jerseys for sale. I think they've used them in warm-ups and stuff, but it was like blackout. I think with the logo being red, it'd be cool. But I think if you're going to do that, if you're going to have a black jersey, the logo should be red, but you should also have some kind of highlight. Like, the rest can't be black. Maybe a white collar, maybe a white stripe around the waist, something like that, and I think it can look absolutely amazing. Have the Galley Winter Classic. Yep, yeah, exactly. I think the Winter Classic jersey, you can't go wrong with like, I'm pretty much anything Montreal. Where we should start normalizing as well the Jose Theodore Took. Any time in it, every single game.
Wow.
I think that'd be cool. That's a throwback. Yeah, that's cool. Okay. I saw that game in Boston while I was in Bangladesh. You were in Bangladesh? What were you doing in Bangladesh? All I know how to say in Bengali is all I know how to say in the Bengali language is I don't know how to speak Bengali. I have a couple Bengali friends, or not Bengali, Bangladeshi friends. So that's all. All right. So I'm doing what they do now, like to try and throw off the timing. This gotta be it. We're over time. Galley Winter Classic, I have 2 baby dark blue. They came in with a Black Pride jersey 2 years ago. The Black Pride jersey looks sick as well. So George has some real good taste in jerseys, everyone. That's what it is. Is it safe to say goodbye? You tell me! You're the one that interrupted me! What do you mean? Is it safe to say goodbye? Are you messing with my head? Sorry for raising my voice. That'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, because a lot of you watching, over half of you still aren't subscribed, and I'm sure there's a lot of you here right now who haven't subscribed either. And thank you guys so much for supporting every single day. On our road to 15K, we're going to get there eventually. Before opening night, maybe not. Before Christmas, I think that can be a good goal. I'm Josh Gosse, for my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.